Hey everybody, this is Mike from the Reelblack podcast, and we today we have the honor and privilege of being with Art Jones, the writer and director of the new documentary Ali's Comeback. Take a look.
It's been 3.5 years since he's been stripped of his title.
He was 27. His title had been stripped from him back in 1967, and he was just looking to fight.
Convicted for draft evasion, threatened with imprisonment. Muhammad Ali is banned from fighting in all 50 states. But in Atlanta, Georgia, in October of 1970, that all changed.
Your film is finally done, and it's available everywhere.
Yes.
Uh,
Yeah, it's available on Fandango. You can get it on at Walmart on DVD or Target. It's also available on Amazon Prime. There are a whole host of other platforms that are out there that's either VOD or DVD. Ali's Comeback, LLC.com has it as well.
Fantastic. So it is literally everywhere. It's a great film, and well, for those who, I mean, we saw the trailer, but for those who need more information, like how do you best describe the film?
A group of disparate individuals come together in the most unlikely location to make the impossible possible.
Which is to stage Ali's first professional fight following his hiatus from boxing.
That's kind of like the hiatus. You make it sound like he
Oh, so
just decided
he
he was going to go
like it
hang
was a
out
personal choice.
in Honolulu for 3 years. Like he was laying out on the beach drinking pina coladas for 3 years. No, it wasn't that kind of a party. Truth be known, even when people who have written about this refer to it as, well, Ali was in exile for 3.5 years. It's like, no, 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 no. Ali was in exile, but it wasn't like it was self-imposed exile. Ali was exiled kind of like how Papillon was exiled from France and put onto a island where he could do nothing. Literally, he was excommunicated from his own culture. He was banished. That's the more appropriate term. Ali was banished from the boxing world for 3.5 years, in part because, yes, he took a strong stance against the war in Vietnam, but it wasn't just the war in Vietnam that he spoke out about. Okay, and taking the stance. Understand something. As much as I love Jackie Robinson and others who have worked within the within white culture, within the sporting world, who I guess was feeling that I have now arrived, Ali, and so I need to kowtow, or I need to be a little more contrite about how I deal of racism. Ali was not of that mindset. He felt he owes nothing to white America. Ali made it abundantly clear by saying after he beat Sonny Liston in Miami in February of 1964, I am my own man. No, I'm not going to go to Las Vegas, and no, I'm not going to go to Paris, France, and I'm not going to go to London or to the Riviera, where other athletes who, once they have made some significant accomplishment, tend to go. Ali literally got on a flight and went to tour the west coast of Africa. So he went to places like Liberia and Nigeria and Togo and Benin and Ghana. Ali, and also understand, this is 1964, okay? When most involved with the civil rights movement were talking about integration, Ali's position was, I need to be more in touch with who I am culturally, ethnically, and generationally. Because not going back to, because I think this was his first ever trip to the motherland, Ali felt a need to be connected with his roots, his cultural, ethnic, racial roots. That spoke volumes to little nappy-head black kids like me.
Okay, so this it sounds like this is a life journey to tell this story. Like what how did you find out about this story? Because I've seen literally dozens of Muhammad Ali documentaries, and none of them cover this chunk of his life. So
I
I think we understand what attracted you to wanting to tell a story about Ali, but why this one in particular?
Two things came into play. I did a film years ago, around 2006, when I was working in the country of Bahrain, about three Arab women who came from different parts of the Gulf region, who came together to take their notion of an idea with almost without any other support, and made something meaningful for themselves within a predominantly male slash Muslim culture. I made that film because I was in the Middle East at the time, and given the image that CNN and the BBC was projecting of Arab women as a result of the illegal invasion of a sovereign nation that had absolutely nothing to do with 9/11, I just felt that I needed to create something that showed the intelligence and the beauty and the dynamism and the creativity and the humor of Arab women. Why? Because I was there. Fast forward, 2000, I come back to the States around 2011. By 2013, because my niece warned me about living closer to her, and by leaving DC, where I had lived for 20 years, and coming to Atlanta, I was here in the studio on June 3rd, 2016, when over the airwaves I hear that the great Muhammad Ali had passed.
Mm.
I was in shock. I froze. I started rereading some of the books I had in my library on Ali. I had spent the entire weekend, I guess in hindsight, in mourning and in reflection about my connection to the great Muhammad Ali. By Sunday afternoon, it dawns on me, after taking a brief nap in the mid afternoon, I'm in this very city that gave birth or rebirth to the career of the great Muhammad Ali. And that kind of started an itch that I couldn't scratch, because within that I was contemplating, this is Atlanta, Georgia. It's a very racially stratified city today in 2016. It was even more so back in 1970. And I'm asking myself, how was that made possible, given what I just shared with you a little while ago in terms of Ali brazen and bold stance in the face of white America, and that carrying over into his stance against the war in Vietnam. So I'm really curious to know, how is it possible that Ali was able to go back into the ring in 1970 after 3.5 years, and most importantly, in the city of Atlanta? You're talking about a man who was the most polarizing human being on the planet in 1970. People either loved him, they had nothing but admiration and approbation and applause, and they just admired him so much. Or you had people that they would get livid if his name was mentioned in their presence. Okay, that's the kind of tension that Ali created, and that's the kind of polarization that existed in America. So I'm asking myself, and Ali came back into the ring in October 26th of 1970. How was that made possible? Even more importantly, who were the people that were involved in making that event a reality? I called my team together at that point, and we went on a week search individually to look at every film that we could find, be it documentary or narrative, about the great Muhammad Ali, to see if there was a film that actually addressed that part of his career. We came back to my place, and everybody said there were bits and pieces in this movie or that movie, but nothing that really addressed this seminal moment in the boxing career of Muhammad Ali. That's when I started to do the basic development work, so that by July, Ali died June 3rd. By July 1st, we had begun pre-production.
Wow. Well, your film definitely captures all of that, the spirit of Ali, the behind the scenes, as well as some great rare footage of Ali, a from that time. So it's definitely going into my collection because I got, like I said, I've seen everything. So
And
I
for someone who has seen everything, let me just ask you one question.
sure.
What did you find in the film that you thought was really salient that you had not known of before, which you felt was very memorable?
Well, the entire story. I didn't know. I mean, it almost plays like a 30 for 30 type thing, knowing that you're from
Mm.
Atlanta, and it's sort of like if you were given an opportunity to tell one sports story built around your background, I would imagine that this would have been it. So it has that definite vibe in terms of it's a personal story to you, but at the same time, it's a story that because you seem to be aware of it and you're shining light on it for the rest of us, it resonates greater. But so I can't say that there's any one fact. I just applaud you for the level of research. Some of the interviews that you managed to get. Some of these people aren't with us any longer, and you managed to get them on camera telling a story that they probably haven't even thought about in decades. And then the assistance of Lonnie Ali, not Lonnie, I'm sorry,
Kalila.
Khalil Ali, as being a part of the film, also gives it a great resonance because she was his right hand through those years. So
In a very literal sense, yes.
yeah, so I just applaud the fact that this story has been captured and that it's available for everyone to see now. Because otherwise, I think if you waited another 2 or 3 years, a lot of these stories would be completely lost to time. So I give it up to you, Art, for taking the making the effort, taking the initiative to tell this story. So
Well, that
thanks.
was, I have to say, that was a bit of a concern for me and my team when we launched into this. We realized we're telling a story that took place in 1970, and we were calculating what the ages of those key people were back then and what they would be at the time we launched into the production. And I was just very, very fortunate to not only get people who were 75 plus, but and one, knowing that they were still alive and breathing at the time, and two, that they were lucid, that they weren't suffering from some kind of a psychological or emotional or neurological debilitation. And that I saw as a godsend for us.
All of this is fascinating stuff, and I just want to thank you again, Art, for taking the time to chat with us today on the Real Black Podcast.
Thank you for having me. Much appreciate being here.
I just knew it would happen eventually. I just was hoping it would happen before they come grab him to put him in jail.
Ali's comeback.